mics are live. It's the Career Seeker Show live, WPPM 106.5 FM Philly. As I told you, we do this thing each and every Wednesday. Kenneth Johnson, Tiff South, Alberta Bloom, my man Bruce Savage, cameraman extraordinaire. Hey, listen, don't forget to check out the Best of Career Seekers. When is that? 1:30 on Sundays. Yeah, 1:30 Sundays in Philly. You can catch that. Just go through your guide. It comes on Fios. It's on the Comcast feed as well. And we'll also broadcast some information about that on our social media feeds, just so you guys can stay in tune with that. Speaking in tune with things, Tiff.
Yes, sir.
I'm excited today. I'm excited today, and I'm going to tell you why in a minute.
Okay.
I was watching.
Okay.
Hey, Bruce, listen to this. Oh, no, what? You'll love this because I think. Do you do martial arts? Aren't you a martial artist?
I used to.
You used to. That's what I thought. Come up here and talk slick with us. My cameraman will do some things to you. All right. All right. Listen.
Bruce don't play.
Yeah. We gotta get our guests to sign a waiver. Like if Bruce just flips out and does something. All right. So listen, Tiff. I'm watching. I'm on social media and I'm just scrolling through. I'm not paying attention to much. And then I see Simone. So I'm like, you know what? Simone is coming on the show. Let me just see what's popping. What's going on with her, right? So I see Simone and she's standing there, and this guy has a piece of wood in front of her, right? And I see Simone go like left, right, left, right. Boom! She hits the wood and splits it, Bruce. Yeah, she did it.
I definitely saw that.
I
definitely saw that. So, I was very, very excited to talk about that today.
No, well, we may sell tickets to a Simone and Bruce super fight, UFC style. Now that she's a martial artist as well. No, but listen. So today, I just, that's just what she does when she's just, I don't know, just hanging out. But really, she's an author. She's a diversity and inclusion expert, professional development expert. She's just, I hung out with her. Podcaster. I forgot about the podcast piece.
Career coach.
Career coach. Mother. This is what she does, man. She's a busy lady out here in this world of, really, in the world of what's right, Tiff. I don't even want to put her in a D&I box or a career coach box because I just think she overflows through a lot of that stuff. Ladies and gentlemen, Simone Morris is in the building. What's good?
Whoop, whoop.
Yeah. No, we need the Jamaican sounder. What's that? We need the sounder. Simone, thanks for coming in today.
Thank you so much for having me. I am looking so forward to the show and the conversation.
Yes, indeed.
And you made me sound very, very good. Thank you so much.
You are very, very good. I had the opportunity to hang out with you. I think it was about a month and a half ago. Give or take. It was really cold in Westchester at a beautiful mansion, by the way. Simone was doing an event. And I got a chance. I was invited to participate in a panel out there with some incredible people. You had some incredible people there taking in all that you offer. And I just thought it was a really good event. When I looked at that event, I said, you know what? People always say they don't have a way to get information. And I think you provided a really good platform for people to get candid information that they really won't receive from just reaching out to somebody on LinkedIn. So kudos to you. I thought that was a great event.
Thank you. Kudos to you for all the wisdom you were dropping. It was awesome.
I do what I do. But we're talking about you today. We're talking about you. So talk to me. Like talk to me about what's going on. Introduce yourself to Philadelphia.
Hello, Philadelphia.
Yeah.
I'm so happy to be here. I know a little bit about you. My sister works in Philly, and as I said, I'm pleased to be here.
You got a sister here?
Yes, I do.
She's not here?
I told her, I checked it, it's 14-minute walk away, so she's listening. She said she'd be listening.
She could have walked over with Tim. Did you walk over?
No,
not
today.
She could have come over with Tim.
I was running a little late today.
It was really nice outside.
It was.
Yeah. So what I do is I do career coaching, I do consulting, training, workshops, retreats, you name it. And I'm glad you said I don't fit into the typical D&I mold because I don't see myself that way. I see myself more focused on inclusive leadership and inclusive networking. I think there is lots of focus on diverse recruiting, like what you're doing, and having a diverse slate. But I think there's also an opportunity for the people that are in this space to feel welcome, that they belong. And so that's what I focus on, conscious inclusion. And I also have a passion for advancing your career. So I've written the book, The Power of Owning Your Career, and it focuses on getting into the driver's seat. And so I think that karate chop that you saw yesterday was about, I am in the driver's seat, and I will stay in the driver's seat, and this is what I do to make sure I stay in the driver's seat. So I have a passion for empowering women to succeed, and I just do a lot of things, as we said in the intro.
All right, so I really want to talk about this book. Here's the thing. So I'm very interested in writing a book. And you know what? This is really interesting because someone we all three know, and she was a guest on the show, Kenneth Johnson. She came on the show with her book. It wasn't Career Rehab. I think that's the new one she has, but it was, I can't remember the name of her book, and I apologize, sweetheart. That's my little sis. I love her to death. But we were speaking about mutual people that we know. And she was just speaking about how, you know, her goal is just to help everybody. And she named people in the circle, Steven, Menda, yourself. And I was like, hey, hold on. Simone's coming on the show tomorrow. And she's like, wow, that's so great. I really like her. She's just so real. And she's like, she has a great network. And I started thinking about the people that were at the event in Westchester. And wow, talk about leveling up an audience. You had some really impressive people. Now, does that come from your network, or is that just who draws to you?
I think that's such a good question, because I think I come from a place of not knowing how to network. Okay. And having to learn how to network after I left corporate America. So I spent 15 or so years at a company, and I was not in the driver's seat for my career, and okay. I did not network effectively. So once I left and I began to find my own way, I realized the importance of networking and building strategic relationships. So
after you left corporate America. Interesting.
And so as I look back, I'm like, wow, where would I have been if I knew what I know now? And so you're seeing me pull from a network, which includes you, that is an amazing network. Yeah. And even as I think about the next event on April 20th, I've already got 2 people lined up, and I'm thinking, wow, I've got to leverage this network more.
Sure.
And I think most of us don't leverage our network.
So when you mentioned that you worked in corporate America, and then you transitioned either to a different job or out of corporate America to work for yourself, how did you begin to learn those skills? Because I think a lot of people assume that networking is this checklist of things that you should or shouldn't do, but networking looks like a lot of different things as your career evolves. So what is one of the first things that you learned when you were trying to practically apply that perspective on recognizing that you needed to network differently?
Oh, because I learned that in business, most of the business that you get is through referrals. And it's about networking where people like you and trust you, and then they're going to send people your way for business. And so I started to get opportunities through LinkedIn when I really started to put myself out there. And I had to build a personal brand, because I was so focused on the company brand, and I stood for the company. And now I was a fish out of water, not knowing how to swim. And I had to figure it out. So I had to learn on the job, so to speak. And so I would fail at some things and kind of, okay, I really need to focus on networking. And so let me give you an example, Tiffany. I'm a new mom, or I still consider myself a new mom. My daughter is 3 years old. And at first, it was very new to me. I didn't want to leave home. I was trying to do networking on the computer, online, behind the scenes, and it was not happening for me. I actually had to get out and go out there, but I don't want to miss bedtime. This event is at night. I was holding myself back. And once I started to put myself out there in front of associations, meeting people, things started to happen.
You know, but I think something happened in that. But so I'm thinking about what you said. So there was a time when you had your own business, you were supposed to separate who you are from the business. But now I think with social, people really want to know about the people that are running the businesses, like intimate stuff about them, or at least just to know they're real. Yeah. So I think your approach was probably what you had learned initially. However, the world just changed where people, they want to know, like, I don't care if you're Elon Musk, like people want to see him in his backyard, you know, like it's like, whoa, before that was like unheard of. People didn't do that.
Can I just give an example, because it's not just outside of corporate. When I was in corporate, I just thought of an example. There was a team building event, and it was on a weekend, and I wasn't going to go. So there was an activity, and it was sharing about your personal business. And I come from an upbringing where it's like, keep your stuff
family business, family business.
Just do your work. And it was some personal questions that were being asked. So I sent back a response that I'm not going to be at the event, so I'm not going to participate. Well, do you know it came up during my review that I wasn't a team player, and that I wasn't, and I was like, what is this? Wow. And as I start to find out what it was, that example was brought up, and I thought, oh my gosh, I can't believe this.
Wow.
So the things you think don't matter, they do.
They do matter.
Yeah.
It's so true, and I think a lot of women of color are, like, people of color are raised to keep that separation, right? And so we are told to go to work, do your work well, go home, just keep your job, keep your head down, and that's the way that we are told to survive, because
Absolutely.
we're often raised in environments that emphasize surviving over thriving and relationship building in the workplace, because it's just not something that happens. And a lot of times we are not necessarily given the room and the invitation, to your point about inclusive environments and to your focus on inclusive leadership and things like that. We're not often included. We're invited to the party, but we're not asked to dance. Bernae Myers is someone
I use that quote all the time.
And so, if had someone maybe before that point invited you to dance, before, you would have felt more comfortable going to that environment, even though you would have been a little bit. And I think a lot of women of color struggle with that and recognize that their advancement is stifled because they don't have those relationships, and people perceive them as not being engaged or not being team players, when in reality it's just they don't necessarily feel welcome and invited to do that.
Absolutely.
And I think, just to your point, like, that just wasn't part of the culture before, where you went and shared information about your personal life, even small stuff, your stuff about your children in work environments. It just didn't happen a lot. But now it's the norm. I remember someone had told me, and this was when my daughter was first born, and they're like, you may not want to have like pictures of your family on your desk.
They say that to men too?
Yeah.
Wow.
And it was.
I know I've heard that told to women. I've heard women.
And it was interesting. Well, so my boss was a woman, so maybe that was told to her, and maybe she just transferred it on, regardless of sex and gender. She's like, look, this is what was shared with me, and this is what I do. So I was like, wow, that's interesting. And I walked into her office, and there was nothing you could tell about her in that office. Like, no pictures of anyone, and like, this is back in the day when you had your own office, like close the door type office. And I just was like, wow, that's really interesting.
And some corporate environments perpetuate that now, but it's and different places have different needs or different expectations. But in your work with companies, what are some of the things that you see where there people are struggling with this kind of inclusion and inviting people to be part of company culture?
Well, I think the need for affinity groups or employee resource groups answers your question. The fact that they exist at different companies where there's an opportunity to have an internal think tank, an internal focus group to learn about different cultures or commercial opportunities is there to leverage as a competitive advantage. So absolutely.
So you have you have 7 tips that you share with people to get in the driver's seat of their career. I'd like to speak about some of that. Let's just take the opportunity to talk about that now. Tell us the 7 tips. Let our listeners know how they can take ownership over their career.
Okay. Well, I think the first thing is you have to claim it. You have to decide that you want to be in the driver's seat. Let me say a little bit more about that. I was, when I left corporate America, I wasn't really sure if I wanted to be an entrepreneur. So I was half-stepping with that. I was still looking for a job. So part of me was looking for the job, part of me was being an entrepreneur. And guess what was happening? Not much, right?
You were right
so
in the middle.
I had to choose a focus and go with it. I got very frustrated with the process of looking for a job. I thought, I'm in diversity and inclusion, and I'm going into these meetings and people are telling me I don't have the background. They're not being inclusive. Mm-hmm. This does not make sense to me. And so I just got frustrated. I thought, you know what? People are going to come to me. I'm not going to convince you that I'm this great employee. I have degrees, certifications. I have experience, but you won't give me a shot because I don't have the typical human resources background, compensation, I didn't have that. So I got very frustrated with that, and I went ahead and did my LLC. Let me say this is my third time with starting a business, but this time it's sticking.
Okay.
Right?
Okay. What were the other two businesses?
I had a Simone Morris coaching business, and then I had a Simone Morris photography business. Okay. And so I learned so much. Pictures is on point. I'm sure they are. Yeah, but I learned a lot from those experiences. So as I said, you've got to claim, you've got to decide it, you've got to assess, audit where you are. From to this is what I have today, and this is what I want to go to. And then you've got to come up with a plan. A lot of projects fail because people don't plan, so you got to spend a lot of time planning out what it is you actually want. You have to partner, and partnership, that's that relationship thing. You've got to find strategic partnerships. One of the things that I learned in business is I can do all the legwork, business development, but it's actually easier to partner with strategic partners. Sure. And so, yesterday's session was about one of my partners. I'm going to be a coach for Moxie Leadership. So I was going through their program yesterday. So strategic partners, relationships. This one is so key. Personal brand. Mm-hmm. Oh my goodness. Most people do not know about a personal brand. Mm-hmm. You get caught up, and I was there. I worked for a very good company. The benefits were excellent. I got to do some really cool things, and I lost myself. Okay. Because I became so immersed in that culture and way of being that I didn't know who I was when I left that environment. I didn't have a leg to stand on. Mm-hmm. So when I went into a networking environment and people said, hi, I'm such and such from this company, and they said, where do you work? I kind of went in and sunk a little bit because I didn't feel strongly about my brand. And so people will say to me, you are always on social media talking about your brand. Sure. I do because I have to. Yeah. In my corporate experience, I didn't shout loudly about my brand, so I got lost. And I got lost in the IT space, which is where I started.
Often people get their individual and personal brands confused with the brand of the company.
Yeah.
And the companies do a great job of branding themselves because they have a whole team of people, and I think they also do a good job of brainwashing their employees to think that they are the brand as well, which they are, but when you're out and about, and I'm speaking about somebody that's really, really close to me. I don't want to offend them, so I won't share, but they really believe that they are the company. Yeah. And they work for a big, they work for probably a Fortune 50 company. You're not the company. They would walk in tonight and tell you to go on about your way and be fine. Right. However, when you speak to them, everything is, it's the company, and I'm like, well, I want to, what do you do? Who are you? Yeah. So.
Yeah, and I think that is such a good point because a lot of people it's to the company's advantage, right? And there are companies that welcome their employees to be both, to feel included by the company and also to brand themselves, right? But a lot of places really benefit on the fact that I lose myself and I'm dedicated solely to you. Mm-hmm. Because if I have interests outside of this place, then I'm not going to be as committed to this place. That's an assumption, right? That's assuming that people can't do two things and do them well. I can't do my job well if I also have other interests.
Absolutely.
But I think social media now makes it so easy to develop your personal brand. But to your point, and you mentioned a series of steps, a lot of people don't know who they are. And it's not until they're at a fork in the road where they have to, either a decision has been made for them that they have to find another opportunity, or something kind of dramatic or out of the ordinary happens, do they realize, wait a minute, I've spent 10 years in this company and I have no idea what I actually want to do. So what is one thing that you encourage people to do to begin to work through that, to get clarity around that particular piece of learning about who they are such that they can then build their personal brand?
Well, I have taken sabbaticals from work. I took an unpaid sabbatical, and I felt free, and I took the time to explore, and as a matter of fact, that's when I went to the Coaches Training Institute and became a life coach. But I went back because I wasn't confident enough to stand on my own at that time, so I went back into the environment, and then I ended up having a medical leave, and then I went back, and then my position got downsized, so I thought, okay, there's a message here. That you know what? Right. There's a message here for me to step out on faith. Right. And so, you know, I use a book that is really near and dear to my heart. It's called Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway. Oh, it's by Susan Jeffers, who I love. And she got me through, you know, downsizing, the experience of knowing that whatever happens, I'm going to be okay. Right. And so I use that book often. Actually, I tried to get a tattoo of that, and they said, you're trying to put too much on your wrist. So this symbol means that to me, that whatever happens, you'll be all right. And so I have a reminder. So have a reminder for yourself that you can explore. Give yourself permission to explore, to taste different things. Invest in yourself. That is huge. I don't have enough money.
Is that one of the 7?
Yeah.
Okay, so all right. So we have personal branding, investing in yourself. What was the first one?
Mentioned assessing and planning.
Yeah, I think you have to decide. I think some people don't decide. You have to decide because there's a lot of fear.
And fear will keep you between two different decision points and not moving forward.
Exactly, and I get it because you want the comfort of the health insurance and the steady paycheck, and you really have to work hard as an entrepreneur. You know that. I mean, it's a major hustle, right?
It really is.
And you know, you have to invest in yourself, and I think
which is why you drove 3 hours here today, and I drove 2. Right? Yeah, something like that, right?
Yeah.
And y'all make me feel bad for my little 15-minute cab ride.
I feel so bad for you. Yeah.
Woe is me, okay? Such a long trip.
Yeah.
Wow, you both are so committed.
Yeah. I think you have to be. I mean, this is a huge opportunity and platform, so thank you again. But, you know, I think self-care is another one. I forget sometimes about self-care because I'm momming, you know, partnering at home, I'm running the business, and my mom, you know, there's a lot of stuff going on, and I forget
life
sometimes.
Is still happening.
Exactly. You have to make time to take care of yourself
yes.
so that you can get clear.
Yes, yes. I love that you talked about feel the fear and do it anyway. I actually, so I run a group coaching program and had a conversation actually last week about some of the things that we have to do to work through fear. And one of the quotes that I shared was, feel the fear, do it anyway. And another one was, do it afraid. Both very similar, but that idea of not, I think a lot of people get caught up in the idea that they have to not feel afraid. Like there's this, I think it's an incorrect assumption that people who do things that seem big and bold don't feel fear and they're not afraid to do it.
Right.
The difference is that they're doing it while they're scared, right? They're doing it and moving forward.